Welcome to Michigan City Rising, the podcast that celebrates the vibrant spirit of Michigan City, Indiana. I'm Eric Tornes, your host and dedicated real estate agent with App Properties, Christie's International Real Estate. In each episode, we'll dive into the heart of our community, chatting with local business owners, innovative entrepreneurs, and influential public officials who are driving Michigan City's growth. From the hidden treasures to bustling businesses, we'll uncover the stories that make our little metropolis unique and exciting. Whether you're a longtime resident or new to the area, Michigan City Rising is your ultimate guide to everything that makes this place special. In today's episode, I sit down with Michigan City's Chief of Police, Marty Corley, and discuss his vision, community involvement, training, and recruitment programs. All right, folks, welcome to another episode of Michigan City Rising. I am your host, Eric Tornes. I'm with App Properties, Christie's International Real Estate, and I'm here with Chief Corley of Michigan City, our Chief of Police. And Chief, I appreciate you taking the time, out of your busy day and sit down and talk with our community and just kind of answering some questions. So thank you.
Always happy to have an opportunity to speak to the community and, get to voice what we're doing here at the Michigan City Police Department.
Awesome. So the way I like to start most of my interviews is just kind of get a background of, your history. Have you been living here in Michigan City very long?
Mm-hmm.
Were you born here? Mm-hmm. Just a little bit about your background.
So I was born and raised here in Michigan City. I've been around. Actually, I still to this day I live next door to the house I grew up in.
Okay.
Next door to my mom. I live in the same neighborhood I grew up in. Went to public school here in Michigan City, graduated from, at the time, was Michigan City Rogers, which at the time we had two high schools, now we're consolidated. From there I went on to junior college in Joliet, and then I ended up getting my bachelor's degree in St. Joseph's College in Rensselaer, Indiana. I have a lot of people don't, see I'm a police officer, but I actually have a social work bachelor's degree,
okay,
with a minor in criminal justice. So I do have a heart for the people.
Yeah.
And have three biological children, three non-biological kids that I support, one way or another. They keep me busy and keep my pockets empty. But my oldest, Eileen, she's a traveling nurse, and I have two in college and three in school, all the way from high school to elementary. So
okay, so yeah, you definitely got your hands full, right?
Yeah.
So what led you? I guess you had said you had a minor in criminal justice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what led you into the path, of police work or law enforcement?
Yeah. So my mom will always say, as a little boy, I always played cops and robbers and played with the police toys and things, and that I would always say I would be a policeman. When I went into college, my major initially was criminal justice.
Okay.
First college I was at, but when I transferred to St. Joe's, at the time they didn't have a criminal justice major, they only had a minor. So then that was what led me into social work. And so I got my degree in social work. I was able to do an internship with between part of my internship at St. Joe's was I ran a Boys and Girls Club, and then also worked in the probation department too as a probation officer. So
okay,
had a little bit of both of that social work and criminal justice.
Nice.
During college. So
okay. And then how long have you been the chief of Michigan City?
I'm going on my second year. I was appointed in 2024 as chief of police by now Mayor Angie Nelson Deitch.
Okay.
So I have a year and almost 3 months underneath my belt. But prior to being appointed chief, I was chief operations, which is one of our assistant chiefs, for approximately 2 years.
Okay.
So,
all right. That's nice. I guess, what do you see as one of the most important qualities to be an effective police chief?
You have to be my style of leadership is I'm a servant leader, and I believe in, not asking the men and women of the department to do something that I'm not capable of doing. Mm-hmm. But you have to be, you have to be patient and steadfast. Mm-hmm. You have to think before you react.
Yes.
I think it's very important, to be the chief of police, to be the person leading the department, that you have to be kind of level head. Uh-huh. But also you have to be willing to work as a team player and not as, the only player. So
okay.
I mean, there's a lot of good qualities that you need in order to be the chief, but I think one of the biggest ones, again, that I've tried to practice is just, listening through what's going on and really looking at it from a couple of different lenses before, make a decision.
Okay. Yeah, you kind of spoke on your leadership style there, and that's, answered one of the questions I was going to ask is, how do you lead from the front? Like, how do you do that? And I think that's a great approach. Some people might not know, but I've stated before, like I was in the military for a while, did 17 years, but even as an NCO in the military, just like you said, you had said it as not asking your folks to do anything that you wouldn't be capable of, and
Right.
and that's something I can definitely resonate with, and that's awesome. How has your leadership style, I guess, progressed or evolved over the years, I guess?
It's just, different aspect. When you're the leader, it's like, things are put upon you that you've never thought of before. And so as I can progress in different type of leadership roles or different type of leadership positions, it's, kind of progress. Like, it's being the chair of a board or organization is also not going to always be the same as being the chief of a department that has 84 officers or 100 employees.
Okay.
But basically in my growth is just understanding, the different roles and not just what's good, not even what's good for me, but just not understanding myself, but understanding those around me, placing people around me that are also good leaders that, and understanding that it's not up to me to know everything.
Right.
But it's up to me to bring all the pieces together.
Right.
So that, we can move forward. And that has been a big progression for me, is going from, being that person that always want to be the one who has to do it to now relying on people and giving people the quality or giving people the tools that they need so they can now do it.
Okay.
And, and be in a position to be a leader. I always often tell people that I work with and just different, even my kids, that, leadership is not about big, fancy, bright lights, but it's about you doing what's right. It's about your good works. Today, I was just talking to a class of 6th, 7th, 8th graders at Queen of All Saints. And one of the things I told them is like, good works is what gives you those titles and those things you need. And we need people who do good works.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of leadership and being a leader is doing good works.
Okay. Well, that's great. What attracted you to this position? Were you looking at this position before and be like, someday, I want to be the chief of Michigan City?
I've never ever said to myself that someday I was going to be the chief of police. I think throughout my development as, a leader and a community advocate, that people envision me being the chief, but it was never my goal initially. I was just talking to a group of kids. I was telling them the same thing. Like, it wasn't that I said I was going to be the chief of police, but I think my good works has led me into a position to be put into this role as the chief of police. And just doing what's good. I've always been a community advocate. I've done my job. I've been going above and beyond. I've done things not because I was told to do it, but because I saw it was needed to be done. And I said, and when you put all those things together, I think that's kind of what got me here. But I never, day one when I started this job, I was just happy to have the job.
Okay.
I mean, I've always loved being the police and still love being the police. My love is, a little bit different now. I've been doing it for a while, but, this is probably the best job I've ever had. And I know the longest job I've ever had, but, I just always loved it. So it was just, my good works and just, the things I've done, the networks, the relationships I've built has allowed me to be propelled into this position.
Okay. All right. So my next question is, who are some of your influences? What, besides, kind of that goal that you had before, of eventually getting into police work. I mean, what are your influences for your leadership style or just the way you function as a police officer and as a chief?
Yeah. So I have to give a big shout out to Mary Angie. Me and her, have been acquaintances for years. Growing up here in Michigan City, both of us, families, are mutually, respected by each other. But just seeing her evolution of how she's grown, and just seeing her style of leadership, and saying I think that teamwork type of concept that I talked about earlier is one of those things that she has done, and not just saying like as a real leader, it's not just about them, it's about building up people to also lead, and she has done those. Throughout my police careers, I have had the opportunity to work with abundance of different people who are leaders in this profession. I mean, my very first when I first got hired, Gene Simmons was the chief of police.
Okay.
And just seeing his, a style of leadership where, saying he, made sure the right people were in the right places at times. And then, you go on to Benny Neitzel, who, was here also. And then I think one of the, biggest influences, as far as this role as the chief of police has been Mark Swistek. He was the chief of police for a big chunk of my career, not only chief of police, but also, supervisor of mine for a big chunk of my career. And just, seeing the way he lead, again, it's your demeanor is what is important as a leader. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not saying that we don't have emotions and we don't get angry, but
right.
I'm saying, the biggest thing that I learned in this role is that, you praise in public and you punish in private.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And if you do that, I think the lasting relationship that goes on when it comes to the leader and subordinate, or the boss and subordinate type, can flourish and survive, because, at the end of the day, nobody's perfect. And I think it's just the way you carry yourself. So, those are some of the people that have been influenced me throughout my years when it comes to this position, and several other things. I mean, I've had the opportunity to work with Dr. Barbara Easton Watkins, who was a past superintendent of schools.
Okay.
And to see her style of leadership, the way that she took care of her people, and it's the way the people appreciated her, has been great. I've been exposed to a lot of great people out there who's done great things, not only in this community, but other communities. And so it's, I've always taken a little bit of this and that, and just, listened and learned from them and about the things they do, and just kind of, make it work for my, style of leadership. And now, again, like I told you, I never, said I was going to be in this role, but,
right.
Now I look back and see why, those interactions that I was able to have and had came to me, the reasoning why, without me really thinking about it then. But those are reasons why I was preparing me for the challenges, and, just the challenges and the ability to, grow
right.
In today's, role that I have.
Okay. I guess as you're, now that your first year is over, I mean, what were some of the priorities as being, as the incoming chief? What were some of the top priorities, that were on your agenda last year? And
yeah, so I was lucky to be part of I still am lucky to be part of a great team. But prior to being, chief, I was assistant chief, and so I was assistant chief to Deion Campbell, who initially appointed me, and then he was then succeeded by Steve Forker, who was chief then, and I was able to work with, myself, Chief Forker, and Chief Cooney, who's another assistant chief. We all worked together under Chief Forker. And then when I became chief, I kept our team together. So Chief Forker and Chief Cooney were still with me as assistant chiefs. So we have been working on some things, that were already in place. For a couple of years ago, the violence was up a little bit around here. We had some incidents that need to be cleared up. But we also had some manpower issues too.
Okay.
So that kind of worked hand in hand. So, I continue to do some things that the team had already started doing in my first year. Just making sure, our retention and recruitment, we put a lot of effort into that. And then, dealing with the violence part, making sure the right people are in the right specialties in order to take care of that. We focused on that. But then, we had all these pieces, our employment, our recruitment was going good. We're hiring people. The shots fired calls were going down. We were able to purchase some technology to do that. But then, one of the things that, I thought was important for us to start focusing on, and we're still working on it piece by piece, is the overall wellness of our officers. And, not just the physical, but the mental.
Right.
Making sure that our people are mentally sound. Not saying that our people are crazy.
Right.
But again, I think we need to dispel that myth that, being, having those issues that you're crazy, you're not crazy, but when you don't take care of them,
yes,
that's when you become crazy. So I wanted to make sure our folks were, mentally sound. Being in this profession for 25 years, I remember there's been instances where, saying I wasn't mentally sound at times, but I want to make sure that the men and women, are, saying that we give them that support, we give them those resources to make sure they are mentally sound, not dealing with any trauma, their emotions, are fluid and impartial, so they can do their job.
Yes.
Because I feel that, if, the more and more we give it to our officers to make sure that they can do their job effectively, then it spills out into a safer, vibrant, and positive community.
Yeah.
This is where it starts. Policing is, I think, one of the biggest aspects of a vibrant community. If you don't have, if the community's not safe, it's not going to grow.
Right.
It's not going to shine. People's not going to come. They don't want to come. And so, we're focusing more on in-house. Nowadays too, we're still dealing with, the calls, the community and so forth, but we're looking in-house so we can strengthen our folks. So again, that we can, serve and protect the best way as possible.
That's great.
So,
well, that's really awesome. Yeah. And it's good to hear, there is a change in society's view, especially, like you said, in the police force. I mean, we've seen that. We've seen the things happen on the news, and obviously within the military, we hear about the suicides that, that affect soldiers, all the time. And there's this misnomer, that if you do seek out, any help with your mental health, like you're a weak individual, but in fact, it's the exact opposite. It's such a great sign of strength when you can ask for help when you need it.
Yeah.
To, like you said, to be more effective and do your job better. So that's awesome. Any big plans for this year? I mean, do you guys have like a certain focus for this year?
We're just, we're keeping on. We want to make sure that we're continue to give quality services. We know, saying what happens sometimes in organizations is you do something good and you get good results, and then you kind of let off of it.
Yeah. We
want to keep going. We want those good. We want it to be consistent. The good results to be consistent.
Okay.
We don't want to go backwards. We don't want to go back to where we had the shots fired and all that, a lot of stuff going on. We want to make sure our men and women know that they're appreciated here, so we can retain them and keep them here.
Okay.
We're constantly looking at ways to better our people, whether it's mentally, whether it's physically, or whether it's financially.
Okay.
I think over the years I've been exposed to different leaders, supervisors, department, and you have to look at the whole person. There's not just that that cop that's going to go out there and make 50 arrests. Well, I also need that cop that can go out there and pull up some cars and talk to people. I need that cop that can build great relationships. I need that cop that that comes to work and does what needs to be done without asking. But I also need that cop to be a good father, husband, community
partner,
and to also put them in a position where they can be financially sound.
Okay.
Because we want you want people to understand, like, this every day, this job's not going to be here forever.
Right.
But plan while you can, and we just try to give our officers everything. Try to invest in them and make sure that they're invested in themselves also. Because if you are strong within yourself, again, it just makes it easier for you to go out and do your job effectively, and and help the community. So our plans just continue to some of the plans just continue to build our people up, but also continue to build strong community relationships.
Okay.
I'm a community guy, and so one of my strong suits and think one of the things that have allowed me to excel is the relationships I've built in the community. So I'm trying to pass that down to the officers to build strong relationships. We want to continue to build strong relationships. We want to continue to look at ways to make sure the wellness of our officers is solid and being taken care of. We're trying to look at ways to better protect the community with technology. We're looking at, some ways to be more efficient also. One of our goals this year is to make sure, we get more officers out on the street and get them away from some of these jobs that will keep them more in here and not out there. So, we've been able to repurpose some of our people and make sure they're on the street. But we also want to look at some technology that will free them up so that they're doing more patrolling and less, less report, take some things to, free their time up to where they're not doing reports or so all the time. But we want to, we want the officers to be out and about, being seen and to build those relationships. We've challenged them to, be out more and just building relationships. And, it's not that they're not out, but, a lot of times we're running call from call.
Right.
But there's times too where, we can, we're trying to be a little bit more efficient. And, there's a lot of technology out there nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
I think back, before it used to be policing, things would kind of totally different. You get a cool car, you got a nice gun, and, what I'm saying, and get cool and stuff. But now, between automated license plate readers, you have AI, you have body cameras, you have all these different things that are out there now that we can use with technology to make our jobs a little bit more efficient and run smoother, and also make us, not spend so much time doing some of those old school things that we used to do, but getting back to some of those old school things of building relationships. Too, also.
Now, I hear you, you guys are really part of the community, and you are talking about, the relationships that you do have with our members. What is a message that you have for Michigan City residents and the surrounding areas who want to help, our police department to improve public safety? I mean, what kind of things can we do to make your guys' job easier?
So we have several different. We have one big program that will be a big plus for us if in the community has started to grasp it. But I mean, there's opportunities for it to expand. We have an online camera registry. And so basically, what that does is if you can register your cameras, whether it's your Ring doorbell cameras, your surveillance cameras on outside of your house or wherever you want. And what that does is it allows us to see on one of our maps and one of our platforms who all has cameras. And so if a crime or incident happens there, what we can do is we can send you a link via email or text, and you can then we'll ask you, say, hey, on this day and time, there was, an accident in front of your house, a hit and run accident. Do you have video footage from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on this day and time that you can send us? And then you send that to us, and that's like a force multiplier for us, because it allows us, we're not there, but if we can use this technology out there, to help us build better cases and, produce better evidence in cases, then it could help us better protect and serve. And so that's a real big one. That's a real big program we have that community can get involved in. But we have a slew of different community outreach programs we do. Citizens Police Academy. We have a Citizens Police Academy. I think is very beneficial, not only for us, but for the public too, because they get to know what we do. You get a behind the scenes look at how our operations work, from all the way from the day-to-day operational patrolman to all the way to some of the things that our drug narcotics task force does also. So getting involved in some of the stuff that we have, and just coming to partner with us, and also allowing us to better ourselves. And I say that is by giving us constructive feedback. I think that is that is another thing we're going to start looking at here in the future also, is how do we get that constructive criticism, or just that constructive feedback back to us, so we can do a better job. Because again, like I know we do a pretty good job, but there's always room for improvement. And just because you're doing one thing good, don't mean you can't improve on it. To make sure the other thing. So if citizens, if you see an officer doing something good, You know what I'm saying? Let us know. But if you see an officer is doing something bad, let us know too.
Right.
But let us know, not Facebook, not Instagram. Let us know. You know what I'm saying? You blasting, officer on Facebook and Instagram is not solving the problem.
Right.
I mean, if you just want to blast them, then that's fine. But if you really want to solve the problem, you want to see us do better, then you let us know. Call my office. We have ways in order to report those things. We do have Facebook. There's a messenger that you can send messages, to. Again, good and bad. We'll take it both, but we want to make sure that it's constructive and it leads to us doing better. One of the other goals that we've kind of dealt with is trying to be more transparent. You know what I'm saying? And just, if we're not hiding from anything, you know what I'm saying? And not only we're not hiding from anything, we're willing to work with community organizations to strengthen, not only our trust, but just what we do in the community.
Okay.
So,
all right. I guess let's talk a little bit about, what's like what we have here in Michigan City. So, I mean, what do you see as one of the biggest issues that we do have in Michigan City as of right now?
It kind of varies from time to time. If you'd asked me this 2 years ago, I'd have said, shots fired. Those have dwindled down. I think we're starting to get into an era of a lot of quality of life issues.
Okay.
When I'm saying that, when I'm talking about, junk vehicles, cars being parked on the wrong side of the street, and just making the community look bad when you do things like that. I think that's one of the issues that we're starting to see more of. And I say that it's not just my observation. I had about, I don't know, earlier this year, last year, I had some complaints about that stuff. And, I'm thinking like, man, this is what we're complaining about. But then when I thought about it, I was like, 2 years ago, people were complaining about the shots fired. Now I'm complaining, the complaints are about junk vehicles and those things.
Right.
Now, is it maybe don't sound as major?
Right.
But I think I'm in a better position than I was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And, and I'm willing, and so when you look at it that way, you're like, let's address this, let's get this done and know some of the issues we're facing. I think that, one of the next things, we're facing in our administrative staff here is looking at it is, and it's not, I won't call it an issue. And if you do, it's a good issue, is the future expansion of, our population here.
Okay. Yeah.
Like you say, Michigan City rising, it is rising.
Yeah.
We're a hot topic. We're a hot commodity. People are coming and invest in this community. And I think, one of the things, our challenge is to continue to not only keep it safe, but make sure that we're making the proper adjustments to other things that might be coming in. When we have an influx of people, you deal with different problems sometimes.
Right.
And so make sure that we're set and ready to take care of that.
Okay.
So that, like, we have some things, but we don't have like nothing like it used to be. It's kind of totally changed. I will say this. I will give a shout out to our specialty groups that go out every day to make sure that, those things that in the past have been ills this community are not what they used to be. And taking care of that, making sure that, people are prosecuted properly, but not only prosecuted, we also go another level of making sure that, those same, community areas, that they have the right resources in order to continue to flourish, after, some of that stuff is taken away.
Okay. You had touched briefly about your drug task force. Now, obviously with the expansion of Michigan City, and then, I mean, if you're from this area, and not even just from this area, but we kind of, we see what's happening also across, in Southwest Michigan with a lot of the dispensaries popping up. How does your department handle, drug related offenses, and how are you guys combating things like that? Especially with the trafficking, going through our state borders. What types of things are they involved with?
Yeah, so we partner with the federal government with HIDA, high intensity drug trafficking initiatives. We have a countywide drug task force.
Okay.
That means the big three departments, which is Michigan City, LaPorte City, and LaPorte County. We all put officers into the task force, and then the DEA and ATF has agents and task force officers in our drug task force. So we address it countywide.
Okay.
So it's just not Michigan City or LaPorte or any county. We make sure the whole county is addressed through a task force that we share together and use. They are out there not only in, we're looking for more of the harder drugs.
Yeah.
Again, we know the dispensaries are there. That's not our focus.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that we, if we have legal action to take, enforcement, we do take enforcement, but that's not our focus.
Right.
Our focus are some of the more illicit drugs that are out there. And so we combat that through, using, we're out there doing drug buys. We're out there, they're making cases that are not only dealing with lower level, but middle to higher level drug dealers. We're doing interdiction on the highways. We have officers that are, trained to do some more street level type enforcement.
Okay.
So we're trying to hit it from all avenues to make sure that, not only our community is safe, but our neighboring communities are safe also. And we're working with, other law enforcement entities to make sure that, again, if the whole county is safe, if the whole region is safe, if the whole state is safe, then for sure we're going to be safe. And sometimes I think it's it takes us working outside of our own walls sometimes with other entities to make sure that if we do this together, we put our resources together, we can we have a bigger effect. So they're out there hitting it hard and just making sure that that the job's being done properly.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So you had mentioned too about retention in your recruiting, and you had done some focus on that. I guess what have you done over the past year, and what are you planning to do? Obviously, with the growth of Michigan City and more people wanting to move here, what types of programs or recruitment are you doing, I guess, to invite the public to be like, hey, this might be something that I want to do in the future, or even when we talk about the youth in our community, just kind of building their interest into the police department.
Yeah. So I would say about 2023, our city council came and gave us a substantial increase in pay.
Okay.
Which allowed us to be competitive, because what was happening was we just weren't competitive. You had, you go to the west of us, you go to Porter County and some of the Lake County agencies, and their pay was just up there.
Okay.
And so we had a lot of people that were, leaving to go to, for a little bit more pay. We got that bump, but not only did we get that bump, we started promoting not just the money part of it, but the benefit package. Because I think sometimes, you get people, they just look at the money part of it. But, when you start explaining the benefit package, and granted, I might not be making over there, I might be making $5,000 more. But if I look at my benefit package, that $5,000 I was making is going here to some of my benefits.
Yeah.
So we started promoting the overall, the benefits of working here, the pros of being here, the different benefits, take home car vehicles, the city insurance, things like that. Start promoting those to not only attract people, but to understand to keep our people.
Yeah.
So along with, a nice pay bump, and then just understand our benefits, and then just, allowing our people to, get a different, expand in law enforcement. We have a lot, I always say, for a department our size, we have a lot of, different things you can explore, you can do. We have a SWAT team, we have a scuba team, beach patrol, we have bike patrol, we have, our uniform patrol, our detective bureau, training, we have a lot of different things. And sometimes, what we do is we kind of give our people an opportunity to dip their hand here and there a little bit to get a feel of what it is. And so see where they want to be at, see where their chance for advancement is. And we use that as a recruitment tool by just, by going out and being in the community.
Yeah.
And just, explaining, what we have to offer. at one point we did about 5 or 6 testing events or hiring events in 1 year, which traditionally only do 2. But again, when we do those, it's not just not saying we got to do so many, but we make sure that they're quality events, attracting folks, explaining, the marketing piece of it. We actually went out and hired a marketing company about 2 years ago to kind of help with that. So they came in and took some nice pictures and, make the presentation a little bit better so we can get you in order to talk to you and further you in the role. So, we will continue to do that, to go out there. We are like one person away from being fully staffed. We went from being almost 20 some officers down about 2.5 years ago to now being one away from being fully staffed. And we're actually seeing the fruits of that labor that we did a couple of years ago of getting people but it's paying off because our people are also happy. And we're doing the best that we can to make sure that they have what they need. And giving it to them. And that goes a long way because they didn't go out and tell the story of how good it is to work here. We've been able to, one of our biggest pluses is our police commission was able to pass a lateral transfer program. So now there's officers who might not, I'm not saying when they're happy where they're at, but we had some officers who left because of money, but now they were able to come back. And not only did they come back, but they didn't lose their time. Now they may have lost their seniority, but they didn't lose their time towards their pension. So that's big, that's beneficial. We've gotten a couple officers we had one officer that had 9 years of experience when we got him. We had another officer who had left us and came back. When she came back, she had 17 years of police experience. And she's, basically she's not starting all over, but she is back on patrol, but she has 17 years of police experience. So she has a lot of experience on her. So we've able, things like the lateral transfer program, better pay and, incentives, those type of things have allowed us to, get our numbers up. But those things will continue to build on, things like that to keep our recruitment, keep it steady and continue to recruit. Focus, big focus for us and for myself being from the community is, focusing on getting people here that live in the community or at least around the community. And if they're not, then when you come, try to get you to live in this community, and that's been a big focus for us also throughout this process of, recruiting and retaining our officers.
That's pretty cool. So I grew up in South Dakota too. So I mean, that's a landlocked state, right? So having a scuba team, within the police department, that's the first I've heard. That's pretty interesting. So what type of training do you provide? I guess I want to get a little bit into the training. Like what types of de-escalation training do you do with your officers and like crisis intervention stuff?
So we have several different platforms for our training. Our training coordinator, he puts together, of course, like every other department, we have obligation to, make sure we're proficient in our shooting. It's important we do that. But we also have a virtual machine, a virtual reality type machine that allows us to do a lot of no shoot training. So you put officers in situations where now they have to rely on their ability to communicate. And we put them in situations, where if you communicate properly, you don't shoot. We try to, we want our officers to know and see that, resolving conflict is not always going to be some type of force. Or, or it doesn't always, you have to be the authoritative figure. Resolving conflict can, 1 minute you might be up, you might have to, elevate your voice, you might have to, show a demeanor that's, a little bit more forceful. But once you get what you need, you now need to start bringing it down so that you can continue the process and make sure it's smooth, and make sure that everybody is safe in that situation. So we put our officers in situations where you're not going, where you have to talk. You might have to use your taser. You might have to use pepper spray. You might not. You might have to rely on your backup officer to now allow them to talk. Often being in situations with female officers sometimes can be great, because if you're dealing with this male who now sees woman, they don't want to fight them. So now sometimes you just kind of back off and let them talk them down. We teach our people to kind of use those different things. We have been very fortunate and blessed in the last couple of years also to be involved with crisis intervention training. It's been a godsend for us. Not only does it, again, it gives our officers another tool, another resource on how to, not so much deal with people, but how to service people. I always say about 60% of our calls for service that we go on sometimes are not about police. It's not really about enforcement. It's about people needing something. And, we are the first ones always call. You call the police, person outside talking loud in public, you call the police. Well, what are they doing? Have they broken the law? What are they doing wrong?
Right.
Well, we're called and we get there and we're expected to have some type of resolution by the end. And, without certain training, our resolution is you do what I say or you go to jail. Now you throw in crisis intervention training, de-escalation training. You throw in those, those type of trainings. Now you give officers those resources on how to, better talk about it, people, to get them to see that, somebody's dealing with trauma or a mental health issue. And here's how we can communicate with them. Here's the steps that we can take to help them. Here's the things that we can lead them to in order to make sure that what they're dealing with is helped effectively. We also have a social worker on staff here at the police department, and Jocelyn does a lot of good work for us. She does a lot of long-term case management of folks who we've often had to deal with on a regular basis without her. Those folks might be going to jail. You know what I'm saying? And really it's jail where they need to go.
Right.
Now we have Jocelyn who can, help our officers direct people there. Our officers direct people to the proper resources. Our officers are now trained in a way to speak with people, but also know where those resources are and know what resources can help those people dealing with certain things. And we're constantly not just, we're constantly building on that. We're constantly, working with community entities in order to get our officers resources. We had a lady from Bethany Bible Church in LaPorte give us these crisis bags, which are bags full of stuff that for kids who are going through a crisis. And so if they're, for some reason, if they're kicked out or, saying something's happened to them and they need some stuff, we have some stuff to give them in order to get them to, once they get to that safe haven, they have some stuff that they might not been able to pack up when they had to leave real fast from whatever that situation was. So our people have had the opportunity, with our training is, learn how to, de-escalate in situations, and not just themselves. Sometimes it's, the person. How do you talk to them?
Right.
How do you, communicate with them? How do you approach them at times? Where our Jocelyn, our social worker, just got a grant to get some training and some tools for officers to, when they're dealing with people with autism. And so that's another thing, what may seem like an unruly, combative person, somebody with autism is, saying they are not that, but that's just the way, things, they react to some things, when it comes to noises or whatever.
Right.
So we're getting training for that. So we continue to, get training and, put our officers in positions to receive training that, better gives them a better tools, give them better tools in order to deal with, whatever it is they need to deal with in the community. And mental health and trauma are big nowadays.
Yeah. I guess, what is the most rewarding part about being the chief of police?
Oh man, seeing people happy.
Yeah.
And not just seeing people happy, but just, hearing about the good things. I love it when I'm out and people say, man, one of your officers, helped me do this, or one of your officers helped me do that. And I'm like, oh, I'm glad to hear that. Like, thank you for, for telling me. Or, people just, saying, hey, Chief, thanks. You guys are doing a good job. You know what I'm saying? And, everybody loves praise, but that type of praise is a little bit different because it's not just about me. It's about the men and women here. And it's about a community now that, feels safe. And, you know what I'm saying? And I tell every time I get a praise, whatever, we send it out. We let our people know. I always try to ask which officer it was. So I want to make sure that officer gets recognition. But we let all the other officers know of what this person is doing to show a good example. But we also let officers know that people are appreciative of them. We often get that. We often think it's us against them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you look at some of the, outlets that social media has put out there, they make it seem like it's the police against the civilians, and that, the general public hates the police. And I tell them, I was like, man, we may get you may hear a lot of negative stuff, but that's because that's when you're going, if if somebody got called to my house about me, I might not be happy to see the police either.
Right.
I mean, so we often see that part of the public. And so, yeah, they're not happy with us. Or, every time, they always say in retail, do one bad thing, they'll tell 50 people. You do one good thing, they're only going to tell 10 people.
Right.
So, same thing, one bad thing we waltz into all officers being bad or being that same way. But I think, 90%, probably even more than 90% of the general public really appreciates what the police do, really appreciate of them. I mean, there was a time where when I was in uniform, I couldn't go nowhere and pay for a meal. I was like, it's like people were saying, thank you for your service, or, we appreciate this, or they're paying for this. And so, I mean, what really makes me feel good, man, is just really to see the community thriving.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? To walk, to pull up to a park and see kids playing. You know what I'm saying? That is a good feeling because that means it's a safe neighborhood.
Okay.
That means it's safe when people allow their kids to come out and play, it means it's safe. So just to seeing those, those things, having those interactions with, with folks and, and just having people, when people have that ability or that trust that they can come up to say whether something good or bad, that they feel like they have the opportunity to come up and talk to me and just, and tell me stuff. That's also a good feeling to know that people feel, safe enough or just feel like that I'm approachable enough so that, they can come up and talk to me. Yeah.
I guess if you could change, you touched a little bit on it, but if you could change one misconception about policing, what would it be?
The men and women in policing get in this job because they want to help people. Now, does it, you see the flashy chases and, all that stuff. But I think at the end of the day, men and women come to this job not, for that stuff. They come to help people, genuinely help people. Now, sometimes helping people, there's some enforcement to it. But I think genuinely, our people come to help people.
Yeah.
Nobody wakes up this morning and says, I'm going to go violate his rights, or I'm going out here and arrest 50 people. So nobody does that. They come to work, knowing that this is a job that I love. And the part that I love about it is that I'm able to help a person. I'm able to make a situation better for a person by my actions.
Okay.
And so I think that is one thing that people that I would want people to, really know that, people don't get into it to bully folks or that they were bullied when they're younger. You hear all these, things. I think it's, again, we get into it because we want to, we want to help people. That's all it's about. Really.
Okay. Where do you see this department, I'd say, in 5 years under your leadership?
If I'm here in 5 years.
Yeah, well, metaphorically speaking, if
I'm here in 5 years, in 5 years, man, I see us not only there's some growth in our numbers, but growth in our services, and I don't want to say in growth in our relationships with the community.
Okay.
I see this, us being a department of just people that are knee deep into good relationships and, doing good work in the community. again, I just see growth, and the biggest thing is going to be the growth in our numbers, so that we can adequately police this community. As it grows, we're going to have to grow. But again, that growth, I think, is a different mind. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be a different mindset behind that growth. We're not just growing officers to go out there, and do, your usual old school, patrol stuff. There's going to be growth where now we have a full-time, we have 10 SROs, or we have a full-time community engagement division, or we have a full-time. Hopefully I can have a full-time show like this,
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Things that we need to do in order to service the community. And I think it's so, it evolves so, differently in aspects, but you need, piece here, all these different pieces, but have all these different pieces. So our community not only evolve, that we evolve with our community, but also just the perception of, what our community is and how people see us and how they want us to be, and just, allowing them, people to live, in a safe environment and just a community, again, that's just growing. We're going to grow one way or another, but we want to make sure that the growing is done and under our watch, that when it's done under our watch, that it's safe, and that people, are, not appreciate it, but people just, are able to, expand their sales because of, the vibrant environment that they'll be able to live in. So.
Okay. I guess what part of the legacy what kind of legacy do you want to, leave as your time as chief?
So, well, myself, Chief Forgan Chikuni, always say that, we want to leave this place better than what it was when we got it.
Okay.
I would be remiss if I didn't give a big praise to Chief Forgan and Chief Cooney for the job that they do as part of this our team. I often, as a chief, get the pat on the backs and some of the awards, but those two guys really make sure that that this machine runs smoothly, and allow me to be out doing some other things and not having to worry about those day-to-day operations sometimes, and also sit with me and make sure that I'm making the best decision for this department too. So I really appreciate them. But again, just want to, I want this place to, be, a well-oiled machine, where now I don't want nobody to have to come in and, start all over. I just want them to be able to say, you know what, man, this is great, and be able to add on to it. And not, go forward and not backward to then go forward. So again, I wanted to be ready and be what it needs to be for the next leader.
Okay.
I don't want nobody to have to come and start all over.
Right. I
don't want nobody to have to, clean up no messes in our life. I want to make sure that, the next, chief or chiefs come in and, they can come in and just
keep
do work.
Moving forward.
Just keep moving forward.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess my last question for you is, if you had a chance to address the public as you do right now, what is one thing that you would like to say to them, and how we grow as a community, not just the police force, but, just as Michigan City as a whole?
Right. So there's unity in the community. And so we need your support. We need you to be able to come to us and tell us the good things, bad things, but we need you to communicate with us. We're open to all lines of communication are open. We have phone, text, we have Facebook Messenger, email. Just communicate with us so that we can, make sure that we're doing things right, fix any things that we're not doing right, and we can, produce the right mix, right relationship, so that we can continue, do things even better in the future. So, we're looking for good communication, and we're just looking, we're here, we're accessible, and we're open.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Chief Corley, for taking your time. Folks, as you heard, don't be afraid to see, if you see Chief Corley out on the street, say hello. Definitely lines of communication are there if you guys have any issues, comments, or concerns. But again, thank you again, Chief, for taking the time.
Thank you.
All right.
So there you have it, the latest episode of Michigan City Rising with our Chief of Police, Marty Corley. I want to thank Chief Corley for sitting down and letting us in on the vision he has for Michigan City, its police department, and our community. Also, thank you to the men and women who serve at the Michigan City Police Department for the sacrifices you make to keep our community safe, along with all of our first responders, service members, and veterans. If you want to see more content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Next week, I'll be joining Joe Lanning at Diamond Martial Arts, where he'll share his path into entrepreneurship and even teach me how to tap into my inner Bruce Lee. See you next week.